So we have plenty of examples in our world of masculine leadership. That's what we've all been sort of born, we were literally born into that, and that's what we've known for most of our lives. We've got plenty of healthy examples out there, and we've got a plethora of unhealthy examples out there. Yeah. So, for me, an example, God, I haven't thought about this in advance, an example of healthy masculine leadership. I mean, is it leadership? Like Eckhart Tolle, he's absolutely bringing the work around consciousness. Any of those teachers that hold satsang, that are about helping you to get out of identification and to be the witness to your process and, the witness to your humanity and all that feminine stuff, and shift the consciousness. It's important, but that would be an example of healthy masculine kind of teachings or space holding, or inviting you into sort of transformational space. I'm trying to think of a healthy masculine leader that's more a kind of doing. Martin, thank you. Let's go to the Indigenous. That's where we got to go to find it, isn't it? That's where we got to go. David Attenborough, because he is inspiring now a lot. He's really coming into his time, isn't he? He's like, he's all that stuff he's done his whole life has now finally got context, and we're here. But how sad that is. How sad that is that there probably isn't a massive list of healthy masculine leadership. Like, we should be naming all our politicians in that list. That's what we'd want to be. CEOs of company, the leader of Amazon, the head of the BBC, all of these, I'm assuming they're men. Again, there we are. That they could at least be in the mature, healthy masculine. So this is the situation. And this is why nature-based feminine leadership is so important. So important. Because there's such an imbalance in our world. There's such an imbalance. And then if we go into the sort of conventional mainstream world and the corporate world, even women who are in that world often feel like they have to become masculine in their leadership, otherwise they just won't even get a foot in the door. You just won't even get your voice heard. I mean, Mark, to be fair to Mark, my partner, he worked in corporate for many years, and he's always been like a bit of a kind of, let's hear the voice of the feminine. And he would notice in meetings, like high-end meetings, how if a woman tried to speak, she would just get talked over. Like literally, he would just watch it and go, my God, did that just happen? That actually just happened. She's getting talked over. And he'd go, I think Lucy has something she'd like to say, and just give her the space, So we're undoing a lot here. We're undoing a lot. And it's not going to be easy because we're literally swimming against the tide. We're swimming against the current of the river that's been flowing for a long time. And we've got it's like so many women who step into leadership and I'm talking more about leadership now when we're putting ourselves out there to sort of, run groups, that kind of stuff. Do it from our masculine, because it's kind of like the only way we can even sort of begin, because you've got to find okay, brace, in I go, because if we come from the feminine, it's like we're just not even going to get noticed. Because actually, if we're leading from the feminine, we need people to come to the temple. We don't really want to have to leave the temple. We want people to come to the temple. So then we try and be the temple and take our temple into the world and into a village hall and into a space and try and kind of create that. So it's exhausting, it's tiring. Really, really exhausting. And to be in mature feminine leadership doesn't mean we're relinquishing our masculine. We need both. We absolutely need both. Ultimately, as a human being, we're looking to integrate and unify the masculine and feminine within us and every other variable in between. If we look at the two polarities, the extreme polarities, masculine and feminine, we're looking to work and utilize each of them. And for some of us, we're going to have more kind of qualities that sit in the masculine, and for some of us as women, we're going to have more qualities that sit in the feminine. And that's why collaboration is really important, Because if you've got a really strong feminine, but you're hopeless with timekeeping, structure, booking, you know, that kind of stuff, you don't want to be trying to use skills and gather up stuff that isn't your strength and then drop into this feminine space and be following the energy and listening and reading the room and going, oh, wait a minute, what time is it? Oh, hang on, I'm supposed to be taking notes. And yeah. So it's like, it's collaborating so you can harvest what you need, different skills that you need, so that you can really bring the thing that is your real juice. You want to be bringing your juice, yeah? So, we need both, but if we're wanting to be a channel or a voice or an embodiment of the deep feminine for change in our world, whether that's through mothering, whether that's through running for Prime Minister, whatever it is we're doing, we're just being women, we're being an artist, we're being whoever we're being. If we want to bring the feminine back to its rightful place, which is what's needed right now to bring balance, we've got to find ways that we can deeply embody that in ourselves and just live that and be that, yeah? And that extends to, if we're holding space, ideally we want to be a transmission. Like, I could sit here and give you the theory of what it is to be the feminine, and you probably learn stuff. If I'm embodying what I'm saying and kind of feeling it and breathing it as I express it, you're going to get a much deeper transmission of that. Yeah? So that's what we want to try and do. And of course, in the masculine model, and there's importance in it to some degree, and there's a shadow, is more going down the road of qualification, learning, you know, what names have you got, what letters have you got after your name, where are your certificates, where are you qualified to do this? And that's important because it's trying to create safety. It's trying to create safety and integrity so people don't get harmed, so that spaces that you're learning in are safe. But of course we all know the shadow of that. You know, it's like you go and get a load of someone goes and gets a load of qualifications for something, absolutely fucking useless at holding space or creating safety. But it's okay because I've got 45, headings under my name. Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily always play out that just because you've done all that academic learning, that you are the thing that the academic learning was supposed to point to. Yeah, sometimes it does, sometimes it's all of it, it's going to be everything, but there is a shadow in that, and it also feels like it leans very much towards praising academic intellectual intelligence, and it doesn't honour wisdom, which sits in the feminine, of bodily wisdom, all the qualities of the feminine, intuition, resonance, womb consciousness, body, feelings, breath, movement, all of that stuff that is the way the feminine brings her wisdom. Where is there a GCSE or a university, whatever in that? Yeah? I had a friend who wanted to do that as her thing, I don't know what you call it, like her dissertation and her thing, and she had to really fight for it. She had to really, really fight for it. So they were like, well, why? What does that mean? Well, they didn't even really understand what she was saying. It's like, well, read my dissertation and you might learn something. Yeah. So what I want to do this morning is just sort of fill in, like, what are the qualities of mature feminine leadership? What are the qualities that we'd be looking for in mature masculine leadership? By mature, I'm kind of pointing to sort of like our whole and healthy self, not our wounded children or our conditioned societal self around what we should be as a woman, what we should be as feminine, what we should be as masculine. Yeah. And then we'll do the shadow, like the conditioning, either collectively, how that shows up in us personally, how that might show up when we're holding space, how that might show up, how we parent, how that might show up, in our work when we're trying to bring ourselves. So what do you think the two sort of top, like, what's the top thing that the feminine is bringing in terms of the gift of, what's she offering? What's the ultimate transmission of the feminine? What's the ultimate transmission?
Love.
Love! Yeah! Woo! Yeah. You know, the ultimate gift of the feminine is unconditional love. Yeah? Now, of course, you say unconditional love, most women are like, oh, what do you mean? I just have to take the abuse and love you anyway. You know, we're so far from that because of everything that's happened. But ultimately, the power of the feminine love is that it can transform everything and take everything back to unconditional love. And, you know, isn't that something that we all want? That's kind of what we were doing on day one. What my little one wants is to have a transmission of feeling utterly, completely loved, no matter how she shows up, no matter how she behaves, no matter how she feels. She just wants to feel accepted and loved without condition. Yeah? That's what I'm really, really longing for. Yeah? And we all want that. We all want that. And love in the realm of our humanity is conditional. There isn't a human being on this earth that is offering truly unconditional love. I mean, you've only got to take that as far as relationship to see it. I love you, I really love you, I love you more than anything else. Honestly, my love knows no bounds. Well, I'd like to go off and sleep with those people over there. Ah, well, maybe I don't love you so much now. Yeah? So there's so many ways that our love is conditional, and it's just how it is. It's not to beat ourselves up. We might want to be. You know, the closest we might get to love possibly is our children. I know that's true for me. Like, God, if only I could love others the way I love my child. You know, that I moved closer to unconditional love. But had she been really, really vile and horrible, and well, she was sometimes, but, you know, as a thing, would I have been able to carry on loving her that unconditionally? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so what is the ultimate gold of the masculine when you're sitting in space held by the divine masculine, the masculine in its absolute, oh my God, that's just...
Presence.
Thank you. Presence. Presence. That is the gold from the masculine in us, is presence. Yeah? And you know it if you're heterosexual and you're with a man and they're just utterly present with you. They're not doing anything. They're just totally present. It's like, oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and they're not going, hang on a minute, touch her left leg 3 times. Kiss her maybe after about 10 minutes. Yeah. So ultimately what we all want is to be held in unconditional loving presence. That is the thing, to be held in unconditional loving presence. When that happens, we open, we let go. Our wounds, our little ones relax. We can let our whole system just open to life. We can open our hearts, we can open our sex, we can open to our power, we can open to our creativity. Everything just flows, yeah? If we had that enough, if we just continually had that for long enough, that's what would happen, yeah? So in terms of space holding, this is the Holy Grail, yeah? That we're aiming for in everything that we're doing, whether we're parenting, whether we're at work, cleaning loos, whether we're shopping, whether we're running for, government, whether we're running a charity, whether we're tending to the flower garden, whatever we're doing, can we hold all of this in unconditional loving presence? Yeah, can we hold ourselves in unconditional loving presence? Yeah, how much are we holding ourselves in unconditional loving presence? That's what our little ones want from us. They want to feel us holding them in unconditional loving presence. Yeah. Now, because we are not really very good at that, we tend to then go and seek it outside. Our little ones seek it outside. Where can I get some presence? Where can I get some unconditional love? And the unspoken model of like coming to a workshop is that you will get held in unconditional loving presence. That's the great promise, isn't it? The unspoken promise. I can bring all my stuff and the facilitator will just hold it and guide me and give me this love that and different facilitators offer different things. Like, some teachers I've just felt like, oh my God, they've got the mother love. I just want to go and sort of climb into your lap and just like, I just feel so loved. I feel so welcome. I don't feel judged. I don't feel shamed or whatever. But they don't necessarily have a huge amount of this, or they might have loads of presence, but you don't necessarily feel that warm kind of just mothering kind of love. Like, we're all going to have a different kind of quality that is our primary calling card. Yeah. So this is what we're, always holding in the possibility of our awareness, that when we're holding space, what we're trying to do is hold a place of unconditional loving presence. Yeah. That doesn't mean we have to accept everything that happens in the space. Like somebody starts kicking off and getting angry and lobbing things around the room. It's like, oh, it's okay, love you in unconditional loving presence, So what's the next? What are the other qualities that we want to,
Boundaries.
Yeah, so where does boundaries live? In the feminine or the masculine?
Masculine.
Masculine, great. So we need healthy boundaries. And what are boundaries creating?
Safety.
Great. So we want to have that pretty high up, don't we? Because if everyone in the room is relying on you being in unconditional loving presence to feel safe, that's a huge amount to hold. Yeah. So we need to create safety, and boundaries is one way of doing it. What's another way of doing that? What did we do at the very, very beginning on the first evening? Agreements. And an example of agreement was confidentiality. So safety is the quality here. This is just examples. I don't want to go too much into details here. But so safety is a quality of the masculine that we need to bring forwards when we're holding space. Yeah. It's like something about the beingness. Like sometimes me and Mark, when we're running like the couples work, and I'm doing most of the kind of the interacting, and he's just sort of sitting there. And in the early days, he'd be like, I'm not really doing anything. I just feel like I'm a spare part here. And I'm like, you are so not doing nothing. Because it's like, for one thing, just if you weren't there, I would be feeling so different. I wouldn't be able to flow the way I do. And it's like I'm kind of leaning into him. I know that he's just solid, sitting there holding space. If I need to, I can go, hey, can you just, and he's on it, he's got it, and there's that feeling. And then he might say something, but he's saying it from that place of I just exist. It's like I'm just here existing. Is the presence. Yeah, I'm not going. That feeling when someone's there and your little one isn't going, well, when are they going to walk away? When are they going to get up and leave? When are they going to go, oh, I'm bored now, I'm going to go and do this over here? It's that feeling like, oh my God, there's this container and it's really solid. It's really solid. Yeah. These are just a few ways we can talk about. I mean, we could talk about presence for a year because it's so many layers to it. Okay, so I want to put down, so quality of the masculine is compassion and a quality of the feminine is empathy, and they are different. Do you know? Okay, so let's talk about the difference. So let's say I'm crying and I'm like, oh God, she just said she really doesn't like me and I didn't do anything, but she said I was really horrible to her. Like how would you be in empathy with me and how would you be in compassion with me? I mean, they're both from the heart.
Yeah.
So they're both a frequency, a vibration from the heart. Yeah, I mean, Brené Brown, you've probably seen the video of her talking about the empathy and climbing down in and being with. And of course, the shadow feminine, the problem with that potentially is we then start carrying everybody's pain, and so we can't be empathic because we feel like we're a sponge and we're just soaking it all up. So how do we be empathic without losing ourselves? And Well, yeah, it's more. I think it's more subtle than that, though, isn't it? It's about doing our own work. Because if our little one is feeling responsible for everyone's pain, and like she's got to mop it all up in order to get love, then you're going to be over-identified with empathising and just being what's called an empath, as I'm sure many of you are aware of that, of where you just absorb and soak up and soak up and soak up.
So
And
is it the kind of, where is it coming from?
Yeah, it's got to be from the mature feminine rather than the shadow feminine, which has been taught to just mop up everybody's pain and carry it. You know, I saw a powerful image on Facebook the other day. Don't know if you saw this. It's an artist, and it's a woman, and she's walking, and she's sort of a younger woman. She's like in her 30s, and she's carrying this massive sort of sheet cloth, which she's using like the way you might put something on your back. And she's oh my God, she's carrying her mother on her back, who's facing the other way. And it was just, there it is, right there in that image. And it's like, we've got to carry her and her and her and her, you know, and I've got to empathise, I've got to caretake, I've got to look after. Otherwise, my own survival is a threat. Yeah. I won't get my basic needs met. It seems altruistic, but it isn't. So we could say, I think we're saying empathy is like being able, and it doesn't even need to really have words in it. It's the feeling that someone's willing to get intimate with your pain. Yeah, so I think that empathy has an intimacy to it. You're not sort of going, oh God, your pain, bit much. Yeah, sounds really difficult, hun. You know, it's like you're able to get inside and you're able to, you know, feel her tears and oh my God, I can feel the grief with you, but it's not costing me. That's like, we want to be able to get to that. I can sit inside and I can absolutely touch my own grief through feeling the grief you're in, but I've not lost myself. Yeah, I can stay with myself. So that's like, you know, the kind of empathy. So compassion, it's also of the heart. Like an example of compassion would be that Tracy's sitting there and she's crying and she's telling me how sad she is, or, you know, blah, 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 something. And I might just repeat back. I go, yeah, I'm really hearing, like, your dad dying is just, it's been massive. It's been really, really massive for you. It's like reflecting back what she's saying to me so that she knows that I've got it. But I'm not going, do you want a hug? Do you want to kind of, oh, come, you know, let me carry some of that for you. I'll share the load. Yeah? So my heart is still really open, but it's not intimate. That for me feels like the qualitative difference. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm holding space. It's the thing. It's back to the thing of presence. It's like I'm holding space. My heart is as big as the space. My heart is filling the space, but I'm not getting right inside with her. Yeah. And sometimes we need empathy, and sometimes we need compassion. You know, sometimes if I think about my partner, sometimes I really want him to be empathic and get inside with me and really feel it. And actually, often that feels really suffocating. It's like, oh, God. You know, I actually just want him to hold the space and know that I've been heard in my experience. He goes, wow, you know, you're really struggling with that. Really can feel how much you're struggling with that. And it's genuine what he's saying. It's not just like, yes, I hear you're really struggling with that, and I'm really sorry to hear that that's what went on. You know, so both of these can be done fakely. You know, both of them have a shadow and both of them have an authenticity about them. And this is an example of, like, because one of the real beautiful qualities of the deep feminine is our capacity to empathise, is to feel. So we're coming into the next one, which is intuition. But when it's not existing within a context that is safe, like within held presence or whatever, it's going to feel quite a lot to manage to navigate. Yeah. So intuition would be a quality of the feminine, of how we would lead from the feminine. I'm just thinking hold on, because I'm not doing these in the same order now. So intuition, we could say the opposite of that might be structure. Yeah? So you've got form and structure, which of course is really important. You know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna run a circle tonight. Don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll just arrive and sort of just feel what's happening in the space. Now you might get to a place, I mean I do that, but I've gotten to that place after like a billion years of sitting in circles and going, well, I know basically what I want the circle to be about, and I'll just sit down and I'll see where the women are, and then I know. In fact, I struggle to create form and structure. And what I do now is I create some sort of form and structure, because I'm like, I've got to have something, and then I'll just move away from that as I go along. But there's something about it being there that just means I've got something. It's like I'm creating a bit of a container for myself in case I freeze, in case I suddenly panic, in case I kind of forget what my name is or something. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we do that first. Okay, let's just start there, and then I'll be in. Then I'll find my way in, yeah? So feminine leadership is following, which is linked to the intuition. Masculine leadership is more kind of, you could say, initiating. So if I'm leading from the feminine, it's like I'm constantly reading the group and going, what am I sensing here? They feel a bit tired, not sure if they're that engaged, you know, or, oh God, wow, I can feel, you know, aliveness in the group, right, I think we need to go into the forest, or, you know, like I'm constantly sensing and listening and reading what's here so that I can best optimize us being here together, yeah? The shadow of that is sort of, is everyone all right? Is everyone a bit tired? I don't know, I just want to, tell me how you're feeling and what you'd like. What would you like? And I'll see if I can meet all your needs. Well, you want one thing, you want something different. Okay, well, we'll do that for 10 minutes, and then maybe we'll do what you want for 10 minutes. Is that all right? Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah, it's not going to work for you, is it? Okay. Oh, you just want to have a rest. Okay, well, should we have a bit of a rest then for a bit? Well, I was thinking we could do some dancing though. You don't want to do... Oh, okay. Yeah? So one of the massive shadow feminines that we get into is this idea that we have to meet every single woman's need. Everybody's need in the space. And you will absolutely tie yourself in knots. It's a classic. It's an absolute classic. Yeah? It's impossible. You literally cannot do it. No matter how brilliant you are, you cannot do it. How could you? How could you? It's hard enough negotiating with one other person. Let alone 12 and all their sub-personalities and little ones. The different parts of them that want different things. Yeah? So there's this dance between following and leading, or following and initiating. It's like we have to also be able to have the courage to go, I'm going to suggest something. I'm going to put something forwards here. Now, the shadow of that is being really stiff and brittle. That's what we're doing, and I don't care if you all say you don't want to do it. That's what we're doing, because I'm the leader. We're doing what I say, and you know, because we might be feeling a little bit underneath, like I'm not confident about being the leader, and actually it'd be better if she did it, because I think she could do a better job than me. So no, we're doing what I say. This is my workshop. It's my workshop. You know, that kind of, it's all going on quietly inside. So we are in this dance of listening and also then taking an action on that. Okay, I've felt and I've listened to what's in the field, and I've found something that I think I want to bring forwards that might be the next way we could kind of be together or meet or do whatever we're doing, yeah? Knowing full well that some people are going to be more into it than others. It's just the reality, yeah? But do you get what I'm pointing to about the following and the initiating and that sort of really delicate balance of when we're listening and when we're leading? I mean, this comes up in parenting, all the time. You know, especially if you're a single parent and you're trying to be the masculine and the feminine, you know, and it's kind of like, well, I want to lay down some rules and some boundaries here because, you know, I kind of lived more years than you and I sort of know what would be good. Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to be like sort of, you know, Hitler, kind of, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and you know, because then you're restricting them. It's like it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, embracing and protecting. And there's a difference in those. They're kind of a little bit linked to the empathy and the compassion. Yeah, they've got like a similar quality to them.
Yeah.
So the embrace is like, yeah, just come and I will just scoop you up and hold you and love you and bring you close to my heart. Whereas protecting, you could protect from a distance and you could protect close up. Yeah?
It feels more like circling around you,
Yeah.
protecting.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
like
a
big
shield
bird's
up.
wings, just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And then we've got nurturing. What will be on the side of here? Enabling is good. I was actually putting holding. So there's like a really subtle difference between a nurturing quality and a holding quality. You know, I mean, you could use the word holding to describe nurturing, but I want to kind of bring just a qualitative difference. The holding, again, might be from a distance and it might be close up. It's still this feeling that you are holding. Like this space, this physical space is acting as a holding, yeah? And it's also nurturing us to some degree. It's got a nice warm fire, we feel safe, and you know, so it's got both going on. Just the physical space is offering both those qualities. But if we're looking at pulling them through in ourselves as a human being, they've got qualitative differences. Yeah? Like nurturing, I might say, do you want, you know, I'm going to make you a cup of tea, give you a bit of a hug, just, you know, kind of give you a little bit of a shoulder rub, whatever. You know, but holding is more, it's a quality that I'm bringing rather than kind of an action of making a cup of tea, giving a massage or something. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, so the feminine is holding the place of wisdom and the masculine is holding the place of knowledge. Knowledge, yeah? In all of us. This isn't like, oh, the men have got the knowledge, the women have got the wisdom. It's like, because these qualities exist within all of us. This is not man-woman thing. So yeah, the feminine we could call wisdom, which doesn't, it's like it comes from here, it comes from the womb, it comes from the body, it comes from us being a channel of the mystery. Whereas knowledge comes from an understanding of life. You know, I've understood why biodynamics work because I've studied the moon and I've seen that on the full moon this happens to plants, and I've seen on the new moon that happens, and I've noticed that when it rains this happens, and I've seen that the sun moves in this particular way. Now, that's knowledge. That's like understanding how the universe works and being able to find a way to describe what's happening. Whereas wisdom would just be like, we're just going to feel the moon together and we're going to get a direct transmission of what the moon is doing. Yeah, we don't need to understand that it's 28 days. We're going to find that out because we're going to start noticing what's happening in our body, yeah? You know, we're going to be under the full moon and go, oh my God, look what's happening. It's like it's a direct experience. So wisdom kind of comes more from that, you know, I'm just experiencing this. Yeah? Might not understand it intellectually, but we're experiencing it directly. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So magical child, very important. So we need the magical child because the magical child is our creativity. Our magical child, not the wounded child, but the magical child is the one that is going to bring all those completely bonkers ideas. Just go, why don't we all just take our clothes off and run around naked? Yeah! You know, and then and then all this kicks off. There's no way we're going to do that. You know, or these two kind, you know, he goes, is it safe? Can we do that? Is there a strong enough container? Are there healthy boundaries in place? Is it loving? Is it going to, yeah. So we need the magical child because the magical child is our creativity and our imagination. Yeah? So don't ever dismiss the magical child in how you hold space and how you be who you are in the world. She is absolutely fundamental and needed until the day we die. Yeah, really, really, really. Everything that we do that's creative, to how we arrange a table for dinner, to how we put the dishes on the rack, you know, and it's like, oh, it's quite nice if I put the plates like that, you know, whatever it is, it's like she's in there. She's in there. We want to really, really honour her.
I feel like she brings adventure and expansion.
Sorry?
She brings adventure and expansion, otherwise
Totally.
it's very...
Totally, yeah. She's always looking for something new, and she's really spontaneous. The thing about the magical child, she's spontaneous. She doesn't think, oh, well, let me think about that. You know, it's just like, boom, there it is. You know, and you remember when we did the 4 chambers and the visioning? She's in there. She's in there. She's completely, like, she's got no limit. She's just as vast as the cosmos. She's kind of plugged into the whole thing. And she's just like, you know, like you were saying, you just have all these ideas. Probably, you know, there's probably a fair bit of magical child in there. It's just like, oh, and this, and this, and this, and this. Let's go play. Let's just go play. Let's not worry about boring things like paying bills. Let's just go play. Yeah, there's a whole world out there. You know, and we do need to give her space. You know, because the more space we give her, the more she's going to be able to help us to form and create a beautiful ceremony, you know, in a red tent circle or in your office or with your family or wherever it is, you know, to create some kind of magic and creativity in the space. So a quality of the masculine I want to include is accountability. And that's the capacity to receive feedback and take ownership. Like if I've done something as a facilitator that's a little bit off, can I go, hey guys, I'm really sorry, that was not all right, I was really off there, and I'm sorry, you know, might share what was going on for me and why it happened or whatever, but not from a defensive place. Yeah, so accountability is absolutely fundamental, and if we've got a healthy, strong masculine in us, we've got enough capacity to hold the little one with compassion and with empathy. You know, don't you listen to this. Just don't worry, I've got this. I'll figure it out. You know, whatever they're going to say, don't worry, I got it. Yeah, but I've got to be able to take responsibility when I think I fucked up, or if it's reflected back to me that I've done something that's not all right. Yeah, and to be able to discern what is mine and what might actually be just there, you know, because when you're in the role of a facilitator, you're going to get a ton of projections. Like, you know, every little one is just going to be projecting absolutely everything. So, you know, that's quite a thing to just sort of filter out all of that and to know, like, well, what is mine and what is projection? And you could flip too far in one direction or the other, where go is all mine, everything they're saying is probably, I'm just terrible, I shouldn't be doing this, it is a nightmare, they're all saying it's crap, yeah. Or the other shadow masculine is to always put everything back on you. You know, it's nothing wrong with me, I'm the facilitator, I can't possibly have any imperfections, because I'm in a responsible role here, and the reason I'm a facilitator is because I've done all my personal work. I'm now qualified to hold space. And, you took me seriously then.
Never.
Yeah. Well, and this links to integrity. You know, that's what makes a facilitator safe, is that they have integrity. That doesn't mean you have to always get it right. It's not the holy grail to be the perfect facilitator. The perfect facilitator, if you like, is a facilitator who can be in integrity, take it on the chin when they're fucked up, be able to own that, yeah, and come in and stay in relationship with that. You know, if one person in the group says, Jules, I think it was really out of order that you did ... I'd be like, okay, I'll hear that and kind of see what. But if 5 of you say that, I'm like, okay, there's clearly something going on here that I'm missing. Yeah, and I need to really look at that. Yeah. So there's something about that collective mirror, and then what's maybe happening with one person. You know, and my own wounds are going to be here, and my wounds, it's like as a facilitator, we've got to be even more sharp. This is why we need to know the wounds of our little one, because if somebody else comes into the space who's got a similar wounded protector, you know, they could just totally clash. Or the complete opposite could still, you know, it's like whatever it is, there could be, you start kind of rubbing up against them, and then you can't hold space for them. because you're too in it yourself. And that's, you know, that's going to happen, but all you can do is own that. That's feminine leadership, rather than masculine. Be like, I'll just pretend that's not going on and see if they don't notice. Yeah, just hide behind. Oh yes, that sounds really difficult for you. It's like, oh yeah, okay. I got to say, I'm not sure if I can hold space for you right now, because I notice it's like there's a mirror here for me. Yeah, and that's, I mean, wow, that just goes against everything that we've been taught in our culture for the last few hundred years. You know, everything, but that is feminine leadership. So there's this space in the middle. What you're talking about is if I can own my own shadows, but I'm not doing it from a place of just a news reporter. Yeah, where I'm totally disconnected from what I'm saying, but it's like, oh, I should tell them that I've got a shadow, but no, I've got a window protector, and she sort of has the I don't matter thing, but anyway, moving on. You know, sort of almost like, let's see if they didn't notice it, but I've got to say it. So that's one end, like a bit armoured and a bit defensive and a bit disconnected, but trying to look like I'm doing it. Or the other one is, you know, I'm feeling so insecure that I collapse and I kind of ask you to look after me. Oh, I'm feeling really insecure about this talk. I just don't think anyone wants to do it. Oh God, I just need to know it's all right. You know, that's not okay as a facilitator. So, and that is not vulnerability. You know how often we talk about I feel really vulnerable, and often when we're talking about vulnerability, we're actually talking about collapse. And that's not vulnerable. That's not true. True vulnerability is a really healthy thing, where we're able to hold ourselves enough that we're not collapsed, but we're also not defending, but we're open. We're able to be intimate and open. That's the holy grail of vulnerability. Yeah, that's an eternal lifetime practice. I'm crap at it, but you know, that's what we're trying to practice. But often when we say we're feeling vulnerable, actually we're experiencing collapse. Yeah, total collapse. It's like I've just lost everything. I can't, you know, I'm completely identified with my wound. I'm collapsed in my little one. I'm projecting to hell. Yeah, that's not quite the same as vulnerability.
It's a really...
Yeah. And you can feel it when someone is not collapsing but being vulnerable. It's like, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm here with you, my heart open. But when someone's collapsing, you're like, oh God, what am I going to have to do? Yeah? What? Oh God, what's happening here now? Oh, we're going to have to deal with a mess here. You know, it's that feeling. You know, there's a weight. I've got to carry something. I've got to, you know, I've got to rescue them. No, all our rescuers going, oh, great, I just want to rescue. Brilliant, that's my thing. You know, great. You know, whatever our patterning is.
There's something about in vulnerability, there's an emergence of something.
Yeah.
Whereas in collapse, there's a dismissing of something.
Well, it's an abandonment, actually, of self. You know, it's the ultimate victims playing out. You know, like I'm totally helpless. I'm abandoned of myself, and I want someone to come and rescue me. I want someone to come and do it for me. Yeah. You know, and even in just the naming of that, we come out of the collapse. In the moment we name, I want someone to come and rescue me now. Now we're in vulnerability. Yeah. You know, I know, and I go, and I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. Rescue me. You know, that's the unspoken communication. And then as a facilitator, you're going to get caught in all of these things. You're like, oh my God, I'm responsible for the group. I've got to make it all right for everybody. Everyone's got to be happy. Who have I got to rescue next? Yeah. And the most powerful thing that was ever said to me by a teacher, this was many decades ago, and he said the most powerful thing going on in the room is the unconscious of the group facilitator. The most powerful thing going on in the room is the unconscious of the group facilitator. If they are not aware of their own unconscious, and however aware I am, there's still going to be a layer where I'm not. You know, and the knowing of that is a helpful step. I can't eliminate it completely. But you know, for example, there's a woman facilitator. She's an amazing woman facilitator. I mean, she's absolutely brilliant. But she just embodies the mother archetype. She is like Amma. She just is. And however hard she tries to be the masculine and people just feel that from her. They can't, it's like she can't help but transmit that frequency, even if she tries to hide it. And some of that is really healthy, and some of it is her shadow, of needing to rescue, of needing to mother, of, you know, her need to mother. And we will just give out a frequency, and people will pick it up, and that will be the unspoken agreement between you. Yeah? So, like, if you're someone that has the I'm responsible for everyone's wounds and I have to sort of mother everyone, you may well attract people to be in your spaces because they're thinking unconsciously, great, I'm going to get a bit of mothering. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, nothing's been said.
No.
It's not on the leaflet. But they feel it. But there's just a way in which we get drawn. You know, those little ones, our little ones are just like, what can I get here? Yeah? Yeah? And then if they don't get it, man, are we pissed off. Yeah? Trash the facilitator. Yeah, rubbish, I'm going somewhere else. Yeah? Because it's also unspoken. Yeah? And I know that my primary calling card is not the mother thing. That's not my thing. I'm much more about presence and, like, you know, that laser kind of, you know, seeing right down into the absolute kernel of what's going on and be able to sort of, you know, find the thing that's at the bottom of the earth and pull it up and go, is it this? You know, and you're like, oh yeah, it's that. Rather than hours of, well, you know, let me cuddle you for a few hours first and then stroke you. You know, that's not my thing. I'm not saying there's a good or a better here. That isn't my thing. That doesn't mean to say that I haven't got any lovingness, because if I had none, you wouldn't feel safe. To have me pull your thing out from the depths of the bottom of the well and go, is it this, without feeling massively shamed and unsafe in the space and need to run a mile. Yeah, so it's not like I haven't got any of that, but it's not my lead. Yeah, but for some women this might be their lead, and they've also got some of this coming online at some point. You know, after a while, well, I just want to give a little reflection. I'm just curious. I'm just wondering, but you know, when you feel like how they say it, you just feel, oh my God, I just feel like she's saying something really lovely to me, but she's saying something really weird. I mean, that's such a skill. You know, such a skill. So let's go into the shadow. Let's see what might be in the shadow feminine. I mean, we have talked about it a little bit already, haven't we, by talking about the flip of some of these. But what other qualities might we put here?
Oh, would manipulation be one?
Just psychic. I was just thinking manipulation.
Warning.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
Sounds very uncomfortable, that one.
Fawning as a space holder.
Yeah.
So it's back to the thing of, I'm going to try and meet every single person's need, and I'm going to do the thing that I think makes them like me the most. That isn't necessarily best thing for them in terms of what they're needing, but they'll come away liking me. Yeah. Well, and that a little bit, like I've put here rescuer and narcissism. So the rescuer lives in the shadow feminine, and narcissism living in the shadow masculine. Yeah. Now, I mean, they could flip around. I'm not completely sort of fixed on that. It's sort of, I changed my mind about that. I sort of think it's
What
quite
about
hard
the
to.
hero?
Huh?
The hero. In the
Put heroism here. Yeah. There's something about the shadow masculine, an overarching kind of quality of it is it becomes about me. Yeah, my agenda, stroking my ego.
Controlling.
Control.
Yeah.
Control.
Hero to me in health, but it isn't a bad
Say that again.
hero. Doesn't necessarily feel like
Yeah.
shadow. But
No, it's
like
true.
the
But
ego
it's if it's the agenda. If your need to save someone is greater than their need to be saved, then the shadow of the hero.
Shadow of the hero.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. But no, you're right. There's a healthy hero, isn't there? And yeah, I think that's important to say. So it's all about me and my shining magnetism, my charisma, all of that, my abuse of power, my position of power. Huh?
That's where loads of spiritual leaders.
Yeah. Well, and linked in with sexuality, it's just no men should be leading sexuality work, in my view, on their own without a team of women beside them.
Yeah.
And ideally, really, why not just let the women get on with it? Yeah. So we could have here arrogance and bravado. Yeah, it's all about being on stage, blah blah blah. Right, wrong. And we see that in the spiritual community, don't we? This is the right way to do yoga. This is the wrong way to. This is the right way to meditate. This is the wrong way to meditate. This is the right way to do Shakti dance. This is the wrong way to do. I know what you need.
Yeah.
It's back to the whole. I know. My need to blah blah blah. Yeah. So here we've got carrying others' pain. Do you remember we talked about that up there? People pleasing. So competition, really, really important. Yeah. Lives in the shadow, masculine. I mean, I think there's an aspect of competition. Huh?
Comparison is the
Well, what I was going to say is I think there is healthy competition. In the same way there is healthy shame, because healthy shame is the process of discernment. Yeah. Of being able to live within a culture and discerning maybe what some of the cultural values are, and not wanting to sort of go, oh, well, people don't walk topless down the street here. Well, they do in my culture, but it's kind of like, well, okay, but, how do I navigate that? That's like a healthy relationship to shame, rather than the toxic shame that's been given to us externally So competition, I think, if I look back at the very early days, I literally was running my first sort of evening class thing, a little group of 6, and my best friends, we were 2 couples, and we'd both done the same training, and we were sort of trying to sort of find our way, and we both lived in Bristol, so it was the same fishing ponds, as it were. And I was feeling really kind of, I don't know, I thought maybe I'll just put on one and see what happens. And this other couple, friends of mine, they just went for it. Same venue, night after mine, and I was like, oh, I can't believe it, damn it, I was just absolutely, because they were winning, and actually it put a rocket up my arse and actually made me get on with it. And it was the best thing that ever happened, actually, because without them doing that, I would have carried on going, oh, I don't know, maybe I don't know, doubt. So, there was a bit of bravado in there, definitely, and a bit of kind of like, just fucking do it. But it was brilliant. It actually just got me going. So I don't think all competition is bad, but obviously we all know what the shadow of competition is. I mean, that's just really, really not helpful at all. Yeah, I've got to be the best facilitator in the world. Yeah, and how I know I'm the best is because I have to put other facilitators down. Abundance. Lovely. Yes. Yeah. Well, we haven't talked about power yet either. Of power with. So here down in the shadow masculine, we've got power over, and it's a sort of it's a vertical paradigm. So here in the shadow feminine, of course, you're going to have power under, where if you're holding space, that's a bit of a kind of suicide mission, because if you're not able to sort of say, I am taking responsibility for this space, and I am wearing this hat, and this is my role, and I take it seriously. If we're like, well, is it all right if I hold space? You okay with that? Would that be okay? You're not going to feel safe, yeah? So here is power with, and I think that kind of bridges over, yeah? It's power with. So here we've got judgmentalness. So here the shadow masculine would be judgmental. Well, I think you should have gotten over that by now.
Oh, really?
You're still here? Yeah, Or just making a judgment as in, well, I do think you're really wounded. Or I think you're actually a bit fucked up there. I think you need some help. You know, whatever it might be, it's like just putting a judgment out there. And as a role of a facilitator, you might have a sense of something, but it's how you say that to somebody that leaves them feeling loved and held to feeling shamed and wronged. Yeah? Okay. So I've got in shadow masculine analytical. But I mean analytical when we get disembodied, where we're not there and we just go into a sort of analytical space because we're just not like rooted and connected. Yeah, but thank you. I think that's, fine. We don't want to throw out analytical altogether, do we? So let's have a few more in the shadow feminine. I've got in the shadow feminine, and I'm not sure if this is a shadow feminine or masculine, but I want to put it in. Spiritual bypassing. I think that's more in the feminine or the masculine?
I think both.
I feel like it's a product of the masculine, shadow masculine spiritual thing.
Detachment.
Yes.
Oh, the whole
Yes.
picture of religion and spiritual.
Mhm.
Because it's quite masculine.
But that's how I've thought about it.
No, I mean, jury's out for me. I really, really don't know, but it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
I think we're all agreed on that.
Yeah.
I'll put it in both.
I'll put it in both. Put it in both, yeah.
Because I think spiritual bypassing is a bit like kind of like analytical. It's like, oh well, you know, I'm fine. I don't feel it. Whatever. And so you're not. It's not in feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It can also be
Maybe it could happen in both, because I'm thinking of a feminine example of like a woman has got so much pain and trauma in her body, and she goes, oh well, it's okay, it was all meant to be. You know, spirit sort of just this was the download that I got for this life, and you know, I know it was all I know I got serially abused for a reason, and you know, actually it's just part of my blah blah blah. Oh, it's all really beautiful, and yeah. And let's just not look at the massive, great steaming poo in the middle of the room. Just the carpet. So we could put like the dark and the light, yeah?
Yeah.
Like the workshop world is really focused on results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than that hero's journey.
Yeah.
Thing,
Yeah. So one of the qualities that we bring if we're holding from the feminine is actually trusting something that we're not in control of, and trusting that that person's process will unfold as it needs to. And you know, and you sit there and you listen to her crying and you hear it all and you think, well, I can see straight away what needs to happen there, and I can see. But that doesn't mean that it's the time to say it or bring it. It's like there's a real, that's coming back to the intuition and all of those things that we're using to go, what's the timing of when to bring this? Yeah, rather than my agenda of, well, I can see already what's going on, so why wouldn't I tell you? Yeah? But the feminine can feel some subtlety around timing of like, when do I bring this? It's like, oh, I can just feel the moment coming. Yeah, I think it could come now, and it would land. Whereas masculine is like, well, I know that, you know, I'm going to need to say this. Yeah.
These are the facts.
These are the facts. These are the facts. So shadow masculine will shame out, and shadow feminine will shame in. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I mean, there's another whole list, which is just the fundamental qualities of these four, but I'm trying to do what is relevant in leadership. So we're kind of moving into the fundamentals of the shadows. But yes, they could play out in workshops quite easily. You know, where if you're in the shadow masculine, you might just very subtly kind of say something, and it's just got that little bit of, oh gosh, ooh, you know, feel shamed. Now, that might be because that's your thing to feel shamed, or it might be that the facilitator's doing something they're not aware of. Yeah? In any given moment. And the shadow feminine, well, I'm just going to take it all in this way. Yeah. Overgiving. Oh, this is a biggie. Overgiving. The resonance in the room. I mean, this is in every part of our life, no? Shadow feminine, you know, it's never going to be enough. And the fundamental wound of the shadow feminine is like, I have to meet everybody else's needs before I can consider mine. Everybody's got to be happy, yeah? So that I can survive. It sounds altruistic, but actually it isn't. It is a survival mechanism, but it sounds like it's very loving and very giving. But of course, if you overgive, what are you going to feel?
Exhausted.
Dry.
resentful,
Yeah.
resentful,
Yeah.
yeah, exhausted, yes, and the emotion that's going to go with that is resentment. Yeah, and it's linked to the victim, because it's like, you should know not to ask me for any more things. Yeah, so you keep giving. It's not taking responsibility for my inability to say no. I can't do that. Don't ask me for more things because I can't say no. So I need you to know not to ask me for anything more. And if you don't do that, I'll resent you. I hate you. So in terms of holding space, overgiving is one of the biggest ways we fall down on ourselves, you know, and that can show up in a few ways. Just the feeling that you have to be all things to all people and you have to meet everybody's needs and be enough and all of that. I mean, the way it plays out for me historically is because I had a whole thing about not valuing myself. I would be like, oh, well, they've paid X amount for this workshop. I've got to give them as much as I possibly can, or they're going to complain that they haven't had enough, you know, and that I'm not worthy to charge this much for a workshop because I haven't given what, you know, it's like I'm not really giving value. So that's how it played out for me. And actually it was ridiculous, because then we'd be like, right, let's do 5 exercises in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, have a half-hour break, and then do another thing. And actually, no, this is too much, yeah? So it's, this is a big one, and I think we can look more at this at a different time, but just to kind of have it there. Yeah, overgiving, massive, massive, massive one. You know, do one thing and do it really well.
Yeah.
You know, take loads of time leading in, take loads of time coming out. Yeah.
What about creating drama from the shadow fence?
I have drama here. I have drama on the list. Yeah. I could make a drama out of something that's happened in the space. Take it very personally. Like everybody's busy getting tea and getting a bit late coming back, and I go into a fucking massive drama about it. I can't believe it. How many times have I fucking done? I mean, honest to God, you know, it's like I get all in a number about it. Indecisiveness, you know, again, it's like, oh, I don't know, we could do this, could do that, I'm not really sure. And you feel like I'm not really, you're not safe in my hands, because I'm a little bit like, I'm not really quite sure what to do here.
So not leading the ship.
Not steering the ship, exactly.
I was wondering where detachment comes in the masculine.
Say what you mean,
So
detachment.
there's like a healthy kind of, you know, this sort of
The witness.
The witness.
Yeah.
And then and maybe when I was thinking about spiritual bypass, I was thinking of like
Great.
that complete detachment.
I think you've just pointed to the masculine version of spiritual bypass. Yeah.
And I resonate with that, because I think that's what I've been doing, because my path was the kind of meditation,
Yeah.
you know, that, you know,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah.
then finding my
It's
way.
like I could facilitate the entire course completely kind of like armoured around myself and probably standing, because that would be, you know, more sort of... we're going to talk about unconditional love and presence today. And, you know, obviously I've spent many years doing my own work, so I'm... but I can now help you guys. So detachment, hiding behind, pretending that I'm not human with wounds and that I'm somehow perfect, like I'm pretending that I'm perfect, and which is different to spiritual bypass, isn't it? Definitely, it's got a qualitative difference to it. Yeah, because it doesn't have anything to do with spirituality really. It more lives in just the realm of the old masculine model. Yeah.
It's so interesting, the standing up.
Huh?
It's so interesting when you stood up, because it creates separation.
Yeah. This is the other big thing the masculine does. Shadow masculine.
Oh, yes.
It's like someone's distressed in your space and you're compelled to fix it, rather than just hold loving space and trust that whatever needs to unfold will unfold. Yeah, it's like I've got to come up with a solution and I've got to sort this out. And you know, and I know I've got a strong fixer in me. Sometimes it's so hard to just sit there and be like, just let it roll. Just let it roll. Yeah, but could just say that and it will make it all okay. And it's just, but there's something in the process of someone just needs to be heard. Just needs to be heard. Even though you can see they're in all their projections, all their story, they're making up a bunch of stuff and it's all factually all over the place. Whatever, first layer, just listen. So, quality of the feminine, listening. Really listening, like listening, not as in I'm listening so that I can deliver the answer to you, but really like that receptivity. I think someone talked about receptivity earlier on. We can put that in here now. Yeah, of really just, I'm receiving you, I'm with you, I'm not questioning anything, I'm just trying to get inside your experience. It's back to the empathic listening.
That's one question. Where does perfectionism live?
Oh, I would say that lives in the shadow masculine.
Oh, interesting.
Wouldn't you say?
Can it show up? I was thinking about things like...
Yeah, because it's linked to the competition and having to be the best and having to be at the top. It's like it's a top-down system, isn't it?
And even when it applies to I must look perfect, the space must be perfect.
I think so, yeah. I personally, what do we feel? What do we think? I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
It feels masculine.
It feels masculine.
It feels like it's a vertical axis rather than a horizontal axis. So fundamentally, the feminine leads from a horizontal axis, and the masculine leads from a vertical axis. Yeah, so that's consciousness there. That's the cross. I mean, there's been lots of lots of theories about the cross originally just being the symbolising of that. And the horizontal axis fundamentally is not one of hierarchy. It's like it's understanding that we're each playing a role here. We've each got something to bring, and the whole is more than the parts of the sum, or whatever that saying is. You know, I'm wearing a particular hat here, and I'm bringing my experience, but it doesn't mean that I'm top of the chain and I've got more answers than anyone else. It's like I know that the richness of this training is because we're all bringing our voices to it. Yeah. And my role, if anything, is just to kind of pull your voices out, you know, and bring my own experience. But that's all I can do. Yeah. So that's a very, very different model to this, where you climb up the ladder of hierarchy of, oh, I'm the really wise one now because I'm at the top, you know, blah, 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 and there's these people under me. Yeah. So that, for me, is just feminine leadership in this horizontal axis. That in itself is a game changer, just to have that in your psyche as a kind of framework of operating from. Every single woman in this space is equal. Every single woman in this circle is a part of the whole, and each of your voices is making up to the whole. Yeah? So I can't be every woman. I am every woman, we're all every woman, but as well, I can't possibly have all the pieces. It would be impossible.
Singing it.
Despite what the song
That's exactly what was in my head. I was like, in my head, or
That was me.
Despite what the song says.
Yeah. Okay, I feel to stop. Yeah? It's probably saturation point. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.